The number one thing that you've got over your competitors is having great energy, because when a market changes, people get weird, and the reality of it is that you don't need to do that. The most important part is that the reason why you win business and the reason why you lose it is based on the energy that you bring to the table. So you've got to make sure that yours is really worth buying. So how do you talk to a consumer about changing market conditions without coming across as negative or being in a position that maybe you're a bit of a doomsdayer? Well, the reality of it is that you can actually do that in really creative ways. Just simply ask the customer, Mr. and Mrs. Owner, based on what you've been seeing in the media, what's your feeling about what's currently happening in the market? What are you reading in the papers, and what are your expectations? You see, after 5 years of consecutive growth, that's 60 months in the eastern states of Australia, it's the first time that we've actually seen property prices start to come back a little. And the reason for it is pretty simple: government intervention. Restriction on the amount of money that people can borrow, restriction on the amount of deposit that you actually need to have, and also to restricting the banks to their access to cash. That also, combined with higher funding costs from international markets, has started to see some basic interest rate movements. Nothing too severe, but just enough to keep people on edge. So you as an agent need to think, okay, great, what am I going to do to bring that energy to the table to allow people to still make that transaction happen? Well, Mr. and Mrs. Owner, these are just conditions of the day, and we navigate these conditions all the time. But let's talk about what you're actually trying to achieve. What's the problem that you're trying to solve by buying and or selling a property right now? The same 10 things have been happening all the time. Think about it: deceased estates, right the way through to divorce. You've got nursing homes, you've got growing families, job relocations, investors, developers, people that are moving because they're bankrupt, people that are in a position that they're aspirational, and people that are in a position that maybe they need a tree change or sea change, or even, for example, someone who's downsizing. All of those things happen all the time, and your job as an agent is to actually help people to make those decisions. Now, some agents don't want to call people because the price point that maybe they told them in a market appraisal last year, or the price that that person bought the home for last year, is now different to the value today, and it might actually be less than what you initially said. You know what? You'd never make it in car dealerships, because in car dealerships, nearly every single person who buys a car from you is guaranteed to lose money. We actually work in an asset class though, where the majority of people that buy from you actually make money over the medium to long term. So it's a really important conversation, getting clear about your energy management in how you convey the messages of the day, but still remain upbeat and positive that today's price is actually a great price. And the reality of it is, in 6 months' time, you're going to realize that. The National Property Clock, which came out from Heron Todd White back in September, said some very interesting conversations that most of our major markets across the country are now moving to starting to decline or into their declining stage, where markets like Perth, for example, are now fully moving into their recovery stage of the cycle. And that's usually what happens as we go around that property clock. So realize we're in for more of this over the next 2, 3 to 4 years. Your job as an agent is to realize that now's actually a great time to buy. So when I'm working with buyers, I just ask the question, you know how you're looking to buy today? When are you looking to sell the asset that you buy? And the reason that I say that to you is, if you're looking to buy today and to sell tomorrow, then maybe now's not the right time. But if you're looking to buy today and sell in a year, 2, 3 or 4 years from now, then now's definitely the right time. Because that's always the thing about the bottom of a market. You just never know when it will be the bottom. And so this is an important component, that if you're going to have a medium to long-term hold, there's never been a better time to get into the market in today's conditions. And for today's sellers, the reality of it is that the market price is not going to change that much, certainly in an upward level, for at least the foreseeable future. So it is very important to be making that decision to do a transaction today. Well, I really hope that you've enjoyed this week's coaching tip, and I look forward to seeing you next week.